I'm absolutely delighted today to be joined by Alex Herrmann from Visit Switzerland. And I'm going to start by asking Alex just to give me a quick update as to his career up until now and what is happening in Visit Switzerland. So Alex, please tell me about yourself.
Well, thanks so much for having me. First of all, Tom, I joined the tourism industry about almost 15 years ago when I met our at then time CEO in New York, where I was based for working for an American company in a completely different industry. And ever since then, I had the great pleasure to work for Switzerland Tourism, the Swiss National Tourist Office. I was first responsible for the US and Canada, then later on also for Brazil. And we convinced, so almost all of the Americas, tried to convince all of the Americas that Switzerland is the perfect travel, vacation, and meetings destination. Then about 1.5 years ago, I got the opportunity to move on within the company as the position here in the UK opened. So I'm speaking to you here from London, from Chiswick to be precise. And ever since pretty much a year ago, I'm now in charge of our offices in the UK and in Ireland, which is a very interesting position, not just because of what we're all dealing with right now, but also because with Brexit coming up, but also with the fact that Switzerland lost quite a bit of traffic from the UK, we have some catching up to do here. So almost 15 years with the company and here in the UK now for about a year.
And it's particularly significant having the UK as an origin market for Switzerland, because the UK historically was the market that opened up Switzerland for tourism to a certain extent, certainly for leisure tourists in the late 18th and 19th century. Is that correct?
Indeed, yeah. We have to be thankful to the Brits. They discovered the beauty of the Swiss Alps almost before we discovered it ourselves in Switzerland. They made some of the mountains accessible with some amazing engineering works with mountain railways, etc. They were built by the Swiss then, but I think the British brought the spirit and the idea to us. They were the first one climbing on many of our most iconic peaks, and even winter tourism was kind of created by the Brits with an initiative in St. Moritz over 150 years ago. So we have to be very thankful for the Brits. The UK is the second most important European market for Switzerland, right after Germany. So it is a very important market. The Swiss love the British travelers in the summer. In the winter, it's pretty much half and half. So it is a very important market. And also the Irish are very welcome in Switzerland. It's a little bit of a smaller market, but a very interesting one as well. And personally, I, of course, always love the opportunity to go to Dublin and meet some of our contacts over there.
No, I think to a certain extent, it's you raised a very interesting point, which is that the UK demand, which was originally a summer demand for Switzerland. I remember dealing with the Hogg family of Lucerne fame, who famously built the Seeburg Hotel specifically to cater to summer visitors, English summer visitors coming to Switzerland. And it's only latterly that they started, I think really through a Norwegian influence, to started to introduce things like skiing through the Alpine Club. But no, I can see that's very significant. I mean, from an ETOA point of view, I mean, Switzerland occupies by virtue of its geography, an extraordinary central place in European itineraries. And certainly if you're looking at the Anglophone market rather than just the English market, Switzerland is the stop-off place if you're moving between Northern Europe and Southern Europe. Is this still the case? Is it just the Anglophone market, or is it in general quite a big market for you?
There have been some changes over the last 10, 15 years or so. By the way, 2019 was the most successful year ever in tourism in Switzerland. So we were very excited until about mid-March when things started to go south. But it was an excellent year because Switzerland was recording increasing visitor numbers from all of our core markets, with a few exceptions. So the Swiss spent more overnights in Switzerland than ever before. With Europe, we were slowly coming back with the most important markets like Germany, for example, after some very difficult years, 5-6 really difficult years in Europe. The Europeans started to come back. And also from the Americas, we saw tremendous increases, and of course from Asia. So we had good news from everywhere, basically. And that was, of course, wonderful because of the sheer volume, but also because it was a very balanced increase from all the different parts of the world. And unlike other parts or other destinations outside of Switzerland, we didn't really have to struggle too much with some of these negative effects of a very popular tourism destination. One of the reasons being that we had such a good balance between the different source markets from around the world. But yes, we had a very successful 2019. With the UK, we're still a bit behind some of the more successful years, so we're working, catching up here. But of course, this year has changed a lot of things, and I hope we can talk about some new record years then at some point in the future, but definitely not this or next year.
You're not the only destination that was looking forward to a record year in 2020. I think really across Europe, my members are expecting growth of at least 10% across the board. And last year it was a very good year. So we were looking for a really splendid year in 2020, and we're getting completely the opposite. I'm sure, notwithstanding the excellent efforts that Switzerland have made to open up and get the hospitality industry running. And I have to say that Switzerland has the oldest and most coordinated hospitality industry of anywhere in Europe. I think the Swiss Hotelier Federation appeared in popular plays in the late 19th and early 20th century. So it's famous for being coordinated in that front. No, the fact that you opened up early is great. The fact that we cannot supply you with the clients is a different problem. But no, I think no, we're looking at a unique and extraordinary shortfall at the moment. What prospects do you have for recovery? I mean, what do you think is going to be happening in the future?
Originally, we were trusting that the Swiss would spend even more of their holiday in Switzerland, and that actually was the case. We early on got very positive reactions and a lot of bookings from Switzerland. So there will probably be a new record year for the Swiss staying in Switzerland. Of course, every destination around the world is focusing on domestic tourism right now. After some unexpected good news then in the June timeframe, late May, June timeframe, when suddenly the European markets opened up earlier than expected, we immediately started to become a little more active in some of the more important neighboring markets where we knew that the borders would be open, Germany, France, for example. And I think that is paying out now. We do see people from these neighboring markets coming back to Switzerland, even this summer. And then in other places, including the UK, we started a little later, only since, as you know, the 4th of July or the 3rd of July, we know that there's no longer a quarantine since the 12th or the 11th of July now. So only now is travel from the UK possible again to Switzerland without quarantine and without any other restrictions. So that's why we started in the UK now as well. So country by country or source market by source market, we go out there and try to save some of the summer holidays. We have the situation that in Switzerland, schools, most schools already start in mid-August. So you usually have this 2-week time frame in the second half of August when many others are still on school holidays. So that's a great time to go to Switzerland, especially this year, obviously, because all the Swiss will be back, or many of the Swiss will be back in school and at work. And then September is my personal favorite month to go to Switzerland. So we're very much hoping to get some late summer business in this year. But of course, we're already looking ahead, trying to get a good winter season in. Last winter season would have been a record season. It was cut short, unfortunately, in mid-March. We hope that we can move forward. We've done so much. You mentioned the Hotellerie Association in Switzerland, the Hotellerie Suisse. This situation has brought all the Swiss tourism-related organizations to work together like never before. They all sat down. It's about a dozen organizations. They sat down together, approached the government together, and the fact that we can now look at some nice recovery budgets and also a lot of support from the government is due to the fact that they all got together. They all were able to talk in one voice with the same message, and that has really helped us. And jointly, we've created initiatives like the Clean and Safe initiative, which was launched about 6 or 8 weeks ago, which makes sure that all the different players in the tourism industry, basically everybody a traveler gets in touch with, from the arrival to the departure, so the hotels, the restaurants, the mountain railways, anybody who is involved in providing services to the traveler, signed up for this program and commits to being very responsible with regards to health and safety. So the program is called Clean and Safe, and you find more about this also on our website, myswitzerland.com.
Oh no, indeed. myswitzerland.com is a great resource for any prospective traveller going to Switzerland. I'm also intrigued that the members of ETOA have some UK outbound members, but they are principally, famously, the people who sell Europe as a destination throughout the world. So we have lots of Chinese and Japanese and American wholesalers. And it must be very significant for you to arrive in London, having been in North America, and finding that, I suppose, along with Switzerland, which is another centre for European inbound activity, I suppose there are two main centres for European activity. One is London, well, one is the UK, and the other one is Switzerland. And it may be that it'd be very interesting to see how this evolves with Brexit. But do you find yourself dealing with the big European incoming operators who are based in London at all with Switzerland? Because they are responsible for moving a lot of Chinese and Japanese and Americans through Switzerland, and particularly, of course, your hometown Lucerne, which is still a major hub.
Yes, already my previous position in New York, I was very much involved and in contact with my colleagues here, with the colleagues in Switzerland. We work very closely together when it comes to working with the travel trade, the major operators, the major wholesalers. I'm also a part of the extended management board, so we meet frequently in Switzerland and discuss joint initiatives. So the answer to that is yes. We've been in touch. I've been in touch even previously. Because we are here, it's of course the easiest that we are the face then to the local wholesalers and the local contacts. We meet them at events once we're back at events, and we can be the window to Switzerland tourism. I can also say that like in the US, like in Asia, all of the Americas, but also here, this crisis that we're still in has, as one of the effects for us, has shown us that a very close collaboration with the travel trade is absolutely key. And we're doing even more now with the major operators, but also reaching out to the agent community, basically with all the players in the travel industry, and especially the travel trade. We want to be a good partner during these difficult times. We have anything from new resources available to a lot of market research, etc., training programs. We're very active in reaching out and helping wherever we can with ideas, etc. But also we're looking into joint marketing programs to kickstart or to restart some of the selling and marketing again. And we're working very closely with many operators. I'm on the phone with many of them every week. And one of the first things I did here in this new role is I created a position. My colleague Michelle Bizang, who will also be doing appointments during the city fair, she is 100% committed to the travel trade, because we even today, and probably again today more than in a long time, we strongly believe in the travel trade and the power of the travel trade.
It's very good to hear. So look, in reality, I mean, I don't want to be too pessimistic here, but the likelihood of any substantial volume in the markets coming back before 2021, and a lot of the people I've been interviewing for this series of interviews are saying that they're starting to look at 2021 really being a bridge year between 2020 and 2022. But is there anything in specific that's happening in Switzerland or near Switzerland in 2021 that will make it, a really important component in an itinerary?
There are quite a number of things, including a lot of things like major exhibitions or openings of new museums, etc., that were postponed from this year. So it will be a year where more is happening, including major hotel openings, etc., than in an average year. But I, of course, completely agree with you, Tom. We won't have a stellar second half of this year, not at all. What we're trying to do now with some first marketing and advertising that we're doing to launch our new brand also, which has been created before this whole crisis, but it is a perfect fit now. It's basically all under the umbrella of I Need Switzerland, and we explain people why they need Switzerland more than ever right now. So one of the reasons why we do that is because Switzerland is one of the few countries that is open and has no restrictions for many of our source markets. So we don't have some of the competition that we do have in other years. Number one, and number two is that there is a sizable community of people out there who can't wait to travel. We of course know there's a lot of people who won't travel for now, but there's people who do travel, and we like to offer them an opportunity to come to a safe and clean country. We've had this reputation for a long time, and sometimes we were almost a little bit sick of being always the clean country and the trustworthy country and the safe country, which could also almost sound a little bit boring. But in these days, I think it's actually it's
boring is good if it is boring. I can tell you that. No, I can see you don't want too much excitement at the moment. No.
Yeah, and I think CNN Travel wrote something about safe is the new sexy. So we're hoping to ride on that wave and get some of the business back in the second half of this year.
Well, yeah, I think there'll certainly be something, and certainly the message we're pushing at the moment is that there isn't another year where you will have an experience like you will have in 2020. For Europe, which has all the appeal that Europe has, to be comparatively empty. And if I may use this word, comparatively cheap, there will be plenty of deals on offer. Not all of them in the places you want to go to, but there will be lots of options for people looking for bargains. This will be a sensational time to travel.
You mentioned my hometown, Tom, earlier. I'm from Lucerne, born and raised in Lucerne, and ever since I can remember, Lucerne was full of tourists. It used to be Americans, Europeans, then the Japanese came in, then other Asians came in. And I was there for personal reasons a couple of weeks ago, and this is the first time in my life that I have seen Lucerne with such a low number of tourists in some of these hotspots. And so I couldn't agree more. It is a great time to travel for people who are comfortable with traveling now. They should really pick up their passport and go.
Get going. No, you're right. And Lucerne, if I may say, to take a moment of praise, Lucerne is the city which is the tourism city. I mean, it's founded as being on a major junction between northern and southern Europe, and it has everything to offer, from history to extraordinary transport and scenic experiences. There are mountain railways, there are boats. There's an amazing transport museum that we regularly have a conference in. There is a lot to be said for Lucerne, and I wish it well for the balance of the year. The last thing I think is, do you still think, and maybe I'm a very old-fashioned traditional operator here, but do you still think that the fact that Oberammergau, which has obviously been postponed and has been put forward to 2021, that normally brings people into the Alpine area, does it not? I mean, this is another plus for Switzerland next year.
Yeah, actually for the year after, because it's been moved by 2 years, but it will, of course, definitely help us.
I stand corrected, sorry.
No worries. it will help us then definitely in 2022 to get a major boost. It was one of the most fascinating things when I moved to the US, or to this position in the US. I had no idea what Oberammergau was. By the way, I had also never seen The Sound of Music. Now I've seen it many times since, and I've learned a lot about Oberammergau. And we do see a little bump every 10 years and now 12 years in our statistics still, after all these years, that the audience is still there. The next generation seem to be coming in. And so we definitely hope that in 2022, this will give us a boost, especially from North America again.
Okay. Well, Alex, thank you so much. It's been delightful talking to you and hearing about Switzerland. Is there anything else we need to mention? Are there any specific openings or products coming online next year, or is it Switzerland is there standing proud and beautiful and clean? Is this the message we need?
I mean, you mentioned it. This is the time where there's a lot of special offers out there. So there are some special offers, for example, from the Swiss public transportation network. So for the Swiss travel passes, for example, you get extra days right now. There's a lot out there. On myswitzerland.com, people can find more about it. We talk directly to tour operators about them. We've launched a beautiful story this summer, just last week. We call it the Million Stars Hotels, which is basically a collection of about 50 not hotels, they're rooms of hotels, opened an additional room or a couple of additional rooms, for example, on their roof. But all of these special places are very secluded, and they all have either a huge window that opens up to the skies, or they are in areas of Switzerland where you have the most amazing view of the skies. That's why the name the Million Star Hotel comes from. We thought about this way before COVID, but it's basically also a great way to stay somewhere a little bit away from other people if someone would prefer that. So initiatives like this are coming, and we're step by step we're announcing them now that we're back into a more active mode of marketing and communication.
Alex, thank you so much for joining us. Look forward very much to seeing you shortly. Look forward to being in Switzerland again, but time will tell on that front. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Tom.